Hello, wildlings. I'm your Creepsmith, and you found my Fear Forge. Lucky you. Today's little bit of body horror, Splinters. They used to call me a jack of all trades, and I guess that was right. I was willing to do a lot of things. Day labor, odd jobs, temp work, whatever you wanted to call it, for pay. And obviously manual labor popped up a lot. So when old Mrs. Lithaby asked me to help her move, I was glad to. I got money, she didn't have to pay more for an expensive moving crew. We all win, right? But the place that she moved to was way out of town. I had to drive 3 miles off the beaten path, way into the woods, to reach this place. Then load all her crap in through this tiny log cabin door. When I was finally done, the sun had gone down and it was dark and cold outside, so she made me chop firewood for her. I didn't complain at the time since, well, she was still paying after all. But in the process, I ended up with a few nasty splinters in my hands, just all over. Glad to finally be done with the job, I went back to my normal life. Extra pocket money served me well, but it was gone in a couple of weeks. The splinters, however, weren't. I tried plucking them out with the tweezers, but the little bastards just kept hanging on. At first, I really didn't think anything of it. It's just a stubborn piece of wood, but they started to look pretty bad after a while. I guessed that they'd gotten infected because they started oozing all different types of liquids. I needed to have them in band-aids most of the time just to avoid the disgust of looking at them. Finally, I caved and went to a dermatologist. He recommended the usual: neosporin, peroxide, washing my hands, just stop picking at them, all of that stuff. But after a week of following those instructions, my fingers actually looked worse, not to mention hurting like the devil. So instead of the idiot dermatologist, this time I went to a real doctor. Guy seemed interested, took some samples of the pus oozing from my skin. He told me that he'd get back to me after a little while, so I ended up waiting. Well, guess what? My fingers were now so swollen that I could barely do anything with them. And no hands meant no work, so I had to live off what money I had left, cursing myself for ever working for Miss Lithaby in the first place. As if that weren't bad enough, they still hurt. And this was way more than splinters ever should hurt. I had them wrapped up a lot, and I really couldn't even move them anymore. Finally, the doctor got back to me. We got around to meeting each other again because he said he wanted to show me something in person. What he ended up handing me was a printout from some medical web page about a rare parasite that I'd never even heard of. The thing crawls under people's skin, starts eating away at their muscle tissue, generally causing hell for the host. And as soon as it gets big enough, it lays its eggs in the host's bloodstream, so the little baby parasites can get all over the body. And the worst thing about these bugs is they're really tiny. So tiny, they can be mistaken for splinters. So stay scary, wildlings. Make sure you're wearing your work gloves and make the most of your nights.